Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to January's Academy Guest Expert Call. And I literally could not have thought of a better soul having a human experience to lead us in today's conversation than our very own Amber Cornwall, who is our resident astrologer, spiritual life coach, guru of all things planetary brilliance, and soul sister. Like, I'm so grateful to have you here. Amber has taught me so much, you guys. She has been a part of the mastermind. She's been a part of the academy, so she knows how we roll here. And it's just so nice to get to honor, like, truly, like, one of our own with this experience, and to equal parts let you shine and do your thing. But then every time you speak, Amber, we're all like, tell us more. So you have a full hour here to tell us all the things, all things astrology, and then we're going to tie it into how this is applicable in business, you guys, because this is an academy call, so it's going to be powerful. And this is the extent of my talking for today. But Amber, thank you, sister. Thank you for being
here. You're very welcome, and I'm super excited to be here. It's like Jill said, a full circle moment of I've learned so much from the academy, and now being able to take my gift and give that to you in a way that will serve you. There's really nothing better than that. So I'm sure a lot of you have picked up a little bit of astrology along the way as far as the moon cycles. Your horoscope sign is your sun sign. But what's interesting to note about astrology is that you are not just one sign. You have the entire zodiac in your chart. It's just a matter of where it is. So we have all of that within us, which is interesting to note. And it's just how that is expressed within your own chart that explains who you are. And if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson at all, who's an astrophysicist, he's amazing. He does a really good job of explaining like what we are. We are literally stardust. We're made up of carbon and hydrogen and matter, and all of these things are from the universe. We were literally built from the stars. From, like, hydrogen came from the Big Bang, and we are like 9.5% hydrogen. So we are literally the microcosm of the macrocosm. We are little universes in our own. I just got like the tinglies, right? It's incredible that we have within us all of this energy and matter, and that's what our world is based upon. If you're into quantum physics at all, everything is matter, everything is energy, everything has a vibration, everything has a frequency, and we are no different. So right now, what's interesting to note with the Earth is that the poles and the magnets are actually being shifted a little bit, which is a big deal because that affects us. It affects our GPSs on our phones. Like, it really affects everything. But my point is, we all have that energy within us. And so astrology is not doing things to us. It's not controlling things. It's simply bringing out the energy that we already have within us, our own blueprint, if you will. And that's what astrology, you have what's called your natal chart. It is a map of the sky at the exact second you were born, that you came out into the world. And that's for a reason. Okay, it's really a map of your consciousness. That's what a natal chart is. It's a map of human consciousness. And so that really, what is human consciousness? It's your energetic imprint onto the world. It is your personality. We have, our human that drives our soul, what we chose to be here in order to basically help us in the best way possible, learn the lessons that we were here to learn, and bring us through the physical world. It has your personality in there, which is what your sun sign is. That's what your horoscope is based upon, is your sun sign. And your sun sign represents your personality. It's who you are and who you bring to the world, your passion. But it also gives you a map of, your soul as well. Why you're here in this incarnation. Your soul is everlasting. It's part of source. It's part of the universe, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So even when our physical body dies, our soul returns, to the universe. I wish I could tell you where we go, but our soul never dies. Then we can choose our next incarnation. So your soul blueprint also shows that. It shows your past lifetimes, what you've learned through the South Node. The South Node shows really what you did in past lifetimes. And often that can give you clues to, okay, well, that's what I learned then. So why am I here now? And your North Node is the indicator of what you're here to do in this lifetime. And so now I just want to show you a chart. So you're like, what the hell does this look like? Like, what are you even talking about? So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show you a blank chart, and it's called the wheel. So, and everybody's is completely different, which is incredible. And today I'm going to just kind of do a brief overview of what the wheel looks like, because I know I gave a lot of you your chart through the Academy on a thread. So if you go back and search through the Academy, just type in astrology in the search bar in the group, you'll go back to finding your chart, or you should. And if you didn't get it, just shoot me a message and I will send you yours. So everybody's chart is on this wheel right here. And in the wheel, you can see there the zodiac signs.
Amber, can I say something?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
To the point that you've given everybody their chart, you guys, like, this is something that Amber charges for. And like, she gave it to us as a gift. So can we just please, like, when she's saying go find your chart, it's only going to help you. And I invite you to participate in the exchange with that. Even though you've not given her money, she has freely given this to you. She's also given you her energy. So don't you deserve to bring that full cycle and give that to yourself? That's my 2 cents with my business mind on.
It's the best. It's one of the best tools ever. When I started going through my spiritual awakening, and I just wanted to learn so much about myself, because I realized that I am a soul having a physical experience. So for me, it was like, whoa. Like, there's so much more to me that I didn't even know about, and it's in this chart. I just have to learn how to read it, and like, it'll help me. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. So definitely what this is for you. And it's a lot. So if you ever need help, let me know. And I'm also going to be offering a special for the Academy. At the end of the call, I'll give you a discount code. I'm offering 20% off, but I want to give you guys 25% off and an extra like freebie for friends and family. So if you wanted to get it for somebody else too, it's the best. It's such an amazing gift, because I go over the whole chart with you, and you're going to see why that's a lot in a minute. But you see all the signs here of the zodiac. So here, the first sign of the zodiac is Aries. And it's all the symbols here. We have Aries, we have Taurus, and then we go right along. And I'm not going to get into what all the signs mean, because it would take me forever to go over all of this. But you have all the zodiac signs here. You might recognize yours. Okay, I'm a Cancer down here. So you have all the zodiac signs all the way around the wheel. And these are going to be in different spots on your chart, most likely. Because, like I said, everybody's born at a different time. And all of these are in the sky as constellations and like literally points on the earth and in our universe. So it's all going to be different based on where you were born. Because this arrow right here is called the ascendant. But this was the eastern horizon, the exact point on the eastern horizon, the exact second you were born. This is your point of incarnation in this life, is what this arrow points to right here. So really, when you think about it, as you're coming into the world, this spot represents what people first, the energetic imprint that they first see when they interact with you. So for me, what's interesting to know is I love astrology, and my chart actually does follow the exact wheel like this. And so my ascendant is Aries. So you think about it like your ascendant is the door to your house. So what people have to go through energetically to get to what's inside, to get to, your deeper emotions and your passions. This is what you see at first look. And for me, it's Aries. And Aries is a fire sign. It's assertive. It's an initiating energy. It can be aggressive. It's athletic. And really that is who, when you put me out there and I'm kind of the extrovert, that's the energy that you get from me at first. I can swear like a sailor. Like that's just who I am. I'm very Aries at first look. All right. And so that's what this point is. And again, all of these go all the way around. But let me just show you for giggles. I think I also have all of your charts in here too. Let me just stop sharing for a second. I just want to show you what I mean when I say that everybody's will be different. Let's see. So Kate, do you mind if I use yours? Okay. So I'm going to share this other chart. So as you can see from Kate's, her houses are different, right? Her ascendant is right over here, but her ascendant is Scorpio. So the door of her house is a little bit more intense, right? But her sun sign, her horoscope sign is Leo, which would be up here. All right. So, but hers is set up differently because the time she was born is different from all of us. So hers starts with Scorpio and then goes all the way around. You have Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, and it goes all the way around, but her time of birth was different. So that's going to look differently than everybody else's. Now I'm going to go back to that blank chart. Working on my Zoom skills here too. So you have all 12 signs. And what's interesting is that you see these numbers here. Those are the 12 houses. So the 12 signs give you a different energy. Everything is just how it comes across energetically. Like I said, Aries is a fire sign. Down here you have Taurus next, which is a completely different energy. Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus is grounded, it's stubborn, it's represented by the bull. So it's a completely different energy. The houses represent the different themes in your life. So if you looked at your astrologer's cheat sheet, you have all the signs on there on the first page on the right, and it gives their energy. And then if you go to your last page of your packet, this is the astrologer's cheat sheet, the apprentice cheat sheet. It has all the houses. So there are 12 houses, and those houses are the different areas of your life. So the first house is your sense of self. It's your personality, your outlook on life. If you think about the wheel, and this is where you were born. I'm going to choose a different color. Let's go red. This is where you were born, and we'll go all the way around this way. All the way around. So this bottom half is really your inner self. And then when you come over here, this is your descendant. This is the point of others in your chart. This is where you really start to come out into the world. Like if this were the your entire life, this is when you were born. This is more like when you were a toddler, like learning what you value, learning about what your home is, what you like over here. And then this is where you really would like start to go to school, where you start to interact with others, is the descendant over here. And the 7th house is the house of relationships. Okay. And so each point along the chart represents a different theme. So the first house is, like I said, your sense of self. Second house is values, physically and emotionally. So it represents money and your resources, but it also represents what you value at a soul level as well. Third house is the house of communication and your conscious mind. It's also the house of siblings. Fourth house is your home, it's your roots, it's your parents. It's the deepest house in the chart, represented by Cancer here, which is a very maternal sign, very home-like. And so each house, like I said, is a different theme, a different area of your life. So when you were to go to look at your chart, you would want to look at, there are three different things. You want to look at what sign is where. You want to look at each house. And then you look at the planets or the luminaries that are in that. And you would take your cheat sheet and you would look and you'd say, okay, what's the energy of that sign that's right there? And what house does that fall in for me? So what does that say? So for me, we talked about my Aries ascendant. My Aries is also in my first house of self. All right. And so that's, again, that's a fire sign. It is initiatory. It is energetic and pioneering and assertive and outgoing. So really my sense of self, my self-awareness, my health is, I'm very athletic. I love to move my body. I love to, I have a million things that I want to do, that assertive, initiative energy, but Aries is not like the finisher. Those are the different, so each sign has a different, like I said, energetic imprint. So like for Kate's, like I said, she has Scorpio in her first house. So her sense of self is going to be, and her personality is going to be completely different from mine. Scorpio is magnetic and powerful and intense. They're very passionate. So when you first meet Kate, that's who you get. That's that energy that comes from her. So let's go back to our wheel here. So that is how a chart is going to be set up. And then what you would do is, let's go back to, I'm going to bring up a different chart as well, so that we can go over and you can see as well all the different planets and the luminaries, because there are quite a few. Where is my Zoom? So this is my astrology software, which is pretty awesome stuff. So this is my chart. And like I said, my chart follows the traditional, so it might just be a little bit easier to look at as well, since we just looked at the blank chart. Aries here in the first house. And all of these symbols represent different planets, luminaries, or asteroids. So the big three, as I call it, and on your worksheet, it has the big three on it. And that's really what your self-discovery tool is all about, is getting to know your chart. So on the worksheet on the bottom, it says the big three. It has your ascendant, which would be that easternmost horizon, that line on the left. So if you take a look at the worksheet, you have your ascendant. I put the big three. So this is really, the big three are a map of your person, your human. It's the front door. If you think of yourself as a house, your ascendant sign, again, is the front door. The energy that people have to go through to get to the inside, which would be your sun sign. That's really your sense of self. It's your expression, your vitality, your spirit, your purpose, your identity. It's really your ego. And then your moon sign is your feelings and your emotions. It's really representative of your subconscious, your receptivity. It's your habits and your patterns. Okay. I'm going to take you this way. I think my little puppy here needs to be let out of the room. This is Buck. He's like, you shut the door on me and I have to go. All right, we'll open it for you. So those three things are really, they make up who you are at, and just going into that can give you so much information, right? It's like, I didn't even know I had a moon sign. And once you know your moon sign, it kind of gives you an idea. You're like, oh, well, sometimes my horoscope sign, like Lady Kate doesn't identify all the way with Scorpio. And it's like, well, how come that is? And it's because you have the whole zodiac. You're not just one thing, and all of it intertwines. You saw all those lines on the chart? Those are all different energetic connections. And those are all within you. And so when we say we're complex beings, we are complex beings. It's not just this or that. Okay, we are really an encompassed being. And it all is just a matter of how the energy presents for you. So when I go through, if we had a chart reading, it's really a very co-creative experience, because to each planet has duality as well. Each planet has light and dark, just like we hold within us. So Pluto, for example, Pluto's all about rebirth and transformation. Pluto is all about the phoenix rising. But Pluto is also about control and manipulation. So there are always two energies, and it just is a matter of how it is aspected in your chart, meaning how it's connected to other planets. The red lines in your chart represent, so this is a square. You see the square here. Do it in blue so I can see a little bit easier. Yellow. So these squares here represent energy that is a challenge for you. Squares are conflicting desires. It leads to something that leads to resolution. Inner struggles that lead to action. So those are amazing places to look in your chart, because that's where you feel this like tug of war sometimes. And you're like, where the hell does that come from? Number one. And number two, how can I use that energy to the best of my ability? Really. And then you have the blue here, which is easy energy. It's a trine. It's a very beneficial energy. You don't have to put in much effort to really use it. It's a harmony and ease. It's your wheelhouse, really. And then you have oppositions. It kind of looks like the barbell. And oppositions, anything in red, like I said, is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for you. And oppositions are no different. These are difficulties from outside yourself. They're things just to bring into your awareness. But to start out, what you would do, well, let's go back to the big three at first. What to start out is that you look at your big three. It's the easiest way to start with your chart and start with your personal discovery, your ascendant sign. Okay, so you would take a look and you would look at what sign, and we know what house the ascendant's in because it's always going to be that first part on your chart there. So then you would come down here and you would type in what your ascendant sign is. So for me, I would put in there Aries. I can enable editing here. So for me, I'm an Aries. And again, we don't have to put the house because your ascendant's always going to be that first line. Okay. But my sun sign, on the other hand, I am a Cancer sun. So even though when you get the first part of me, you get the athlete, you get the extrovert, you get the innovator, really down below in my emotions, I am a Cancer at heart. So your sun sign looks like the bullseye, which is down here on the bottom of my chart, right here. And this is Cancer. Okay. So your sun sign, again, is your vitality. It's really your ego and who you are. Cancer is all about home. It's very maternal, probably the most emotional sign of the zodiac. It's very deep. And so then what we would do is we would then go to our chart and write down my sun sign is a Cancer, and it is in the 4th house. So again, my number down here, I'm in the 4th house. I'm sorry, my bad, I'm in the 5th house. My sun sign's in the 5th house because this line right here, where's my annotate button? These are the lines that separate the houses.
Amber, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So my sun sign in my chart is in between 2 houses.
Look at you. So yours, let's bring up Kate's. So Kate's sun sign is,
It's a Leo.
you are. I'm trying to move this thing so I can get it out of the way. So Kate's sun is up here. Draw, please. My button's not working to draw, but there we go. It's up here. So yours is
Okay, I see. Okay.
9th house. But it looks like you're looking at the signs here, this line.
Yep. Okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yours is in the 9th house, which if you look at your sheet, 9th house is really all about the higher mind and higher education. It's like the seeker, right? Ethics, publishing. So really your personality, your ego is really about like going there, educating. You want to learn, being that learner, being in the 9th house here. So you would say it's in your 9th house and it falls right here in the sign of Leo.
Okay.
This right here is where Cancer ends
Mm-hmm.
and Leo begins.
Got it. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. So, and I'm in the 5th. Mine's in the 5th house. And then you would go to check out your moon sign, which again is all about your habits and emotions. And my moon is all the way at the top here in Aquarius, which is interesting because it's a very different energy from my sun. It is an air energy. So we have all 4 of the elements within the chart, which I think is pretty cool. It's just amazing. You represent all. You have fire, earth, air, and water. And so also when I would look at your chart, that's one of the first things I would look at is we would check out how much of each modality you have in your chart. Do you have a ton of planets and fire signs? That's going to make you embody more of that fire energy in your blueprint. Do you have more air? That's going to be a very mental energy. You're going to have a lot of communication, but you're going to live a lot in your head. If you have a lot of water, you're going to be all the feels, right? So for me, my moon is in air and it's in Aquarius, and it's a really good balancer for me, but it also, I can feel real disconnect sometimes because my personality and my ego is super emotional. That Cancer sun is super emotional. But my Aquarius moon can be very detached. It's like the Aquarius sign is the humanitarian, but it can also come off very aloof. Very aloof. Or like if once I'm done with something, I'm done. Like I can cut things off, I can cut things out. Kind of like a deuces type energy. And my emotions can be very independent, like don't tell me how to feel. Like don't do that. And my Aries ascendant will kind of push that point home of like, I have no problem being like, no, this is how I feel. It can be rebellious sometimes. And so that is in the 11th house and it's in Aquarius. Aquarius is in the 11th. And then what you have over here is keywords, thoughts, and ideas. So what you do is you would just kind of go over, and in this box over here, you could write out just really the characteristics of each thing. And it helps to give you a map. It gives you a bigger picture of exactly how that energy plays for you. So you just write in some keywords here. And then we know the ascendant is the door to our house. It's our mask that we wear as well. Our sun sign is really our vitality, our ego, our spirit, our purpose. And it's in Cancer, and Cancer is maternal. It's receptive. It's home and family oriented. Emotional. And then the 5th house is all about creativity and children. So I love kids. I can be very passionate about having fun, like what I want to do. And then we would go down to our moon sign, so Aquarius. And you would just write down again what Aquarius is all about, what the 11th house is all about. And then you try and it gives you a bigger picture and a place to dig. So for you, you could take a look at my sun sign. Okay, what part of Cancer do I identify with? What part of Cancer do I not identify with? Why do I feel maternal? What about home and family? So you could really go around and journal on each one if you really wanted to, and try and bring out that essence of yourself and see, you know, what resonates and what doesn't. But there are also, I just want to give you the tools of how else to look at everything else, how else to look at the other points in your chart and be able to do some of the self-discovery. Because you can Google some of it as well. Like if you typed in Sun in Cancer, Moon in Aquarius, it would come up with that information for you. The internet is a ton of, it's a wealth of knowledge, as we know, and astrology is no different. Astrology is no different. So you could type in, you could look at your chart and say, oh, like, what the heck is this planet up here? Up at the top, like that kind of looks kind of cool. That's Uranus. As you look at your chart, you're like, okay, I know that Uranus is all about uniqueness and individuality, revolution, and reform, but I don't know what it really means being in Sagittarius. I don't know what it means
How do we know that? Is that something that we Google? Like, what do the planets represent? Like, what do the different signs represent? Because that, I don't know that stuff. Like, just
Your cheat sheet.
the cheat sheet. Okay, perfect.
When you pull that up, it will show you.
Perfect.
It has all the different energies on it. You could absolutely look it up, but you have your own, the cheat sheet has it all. It has the planets and what they represent.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure there was like definitions.
And that's the thing, it's like, it's crazy because each sign has different characteristics, each planet has different characteristics, each house has different characteristics. So just knowing all that is a lot. So my advice to you is to just start planet by planet. Say, okay, I want to know what Uranus and Sagittarius means. And you can Google it, Uranus and Sagittarius. Now, I want to know what Uranus in the 9th house means. And you can Google that. And it will give you a broader picture, or a more specific picture, really, of what that energy is. And then also realize that nobody can tell you how that energy presents for you. You are the expert on you. Always. So, when you go through it, really be in touch with who you are and say, okay, well, Uranus is really about, the unexpected. It is rebellion. And in the 9th house, okay, well, that's higher education. That's what Sagittarius is all about, is the seeker. So for me, like, this is it, right? Higher education for me, higher learning is learning all about the spiritual world. That's different. That's not really kind of your table conversation with most people. And so for me, that seeking, that higher education is all about, is for Uranus, is like, Uranus is also the great awakener, which is kind of amazing. It's here to shake people awake into their consciousness and into the new earth. And that for me is in the 9th house of higher education and learning. And that's really what I love to learn about. It's all about the higher mind. And the 9th house is also publishing too, which is kind of cool, in media. And that's what I do, is I take those different unique ideas and I bring them out into the world. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to learn about. So that's kind of how you would take a look at all that energy. You take a look at the planet's energy, the house's energy, and the sign's energy. You can Google it, or if you want to practice, like, some of you are like, dude, I just want to know the information. Like, I don't want to learn astrology. And that's totally cool. Then you can just Google what you want to Google. If you're like, I just want to have a bigger picture, like, sweet, like, we'll do a chart reading. It's all how you feel about it. Because for me, I just wanted to learn. It's like, this is so fascinating to me. So I've really taken the time to go into it all. But the other key points, I want to now show you other major points in your chart that you probably are going to want to look at being in the academy. Okay, your 10th house is your career, how you show up into the world, your public standing and your reputation, your profession, the sense of mission. Okay, the 6th house can be like the house of work, like maybe it's what you do for your job now and like what was very easy for you to fall into, but the 10th house is like what you want to do. And to go along with that, you have the North Node, which is this horseshoe looking shape. And that's really what you came to do in this lifetime. North Node, as I call it, is your destiny code, the destiny for this lifetime. So the North Node is right here in the first house, and the South Node, where do you think that's going to be? It's going to be straight across. Okay, and it doesn't have a point here, it's not shown here, but you can just know that your South Node is completely opposite your North Node. And that's your past life, what you learned in past lives. So for me, my North Node is in the first house. So the first house is the house of what? Your house of self. And it's in Aries. So for me, this lifetime is all about me and what I want to do. Like, what do you want to do? I'm here to learn about myself and bring that out into the world. My past lives, which is interesting, is in the 7th house, which is the house of relationships, and it's all about others. So my past lives have all been about helping others, you know, being like the right-hand person. And what's funny is that I have so much experience in that. That's what I'm doing, is like, that's the energy that I came into this lifetime and I had down. Like, oh, you need a helper and a right-hand person and somebody to like do all the things for you and like make everything nice and even. I'm very good at that. So embodying my North Node has been a challenge, because it's like, no, like, but that's not what you're here to do. So when I had my awakening, it was this big shift of like, oh, I'm supposed to be paying attention to me more. That's how I'm going to be bringing my gifts out into the world. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So for me, the 10th house, I have Mars and I have Neptune. And the top arrow up here is the midheaven. And that is really the point of how you are seen in the world. If I was going to look at like really what you're here to do, why you're here, what your career path would be, what your passion would be, as I look at your midheaven, the North Node, the 10th house. Those would be huge aspects in your chart. Also important to know is the North Node is what you came to do here in this lifetime, like kind of what your soul is here to master in this lifetime. But it's not easy to do, like I said. It's growth producing. It's what you're here to develop as well. And the midheaven is the point in your chart. It's the highest point in your chart, so it's the most seen point in your chart. And Neptune, for me, is on the midheaven, and Neptune represents God consciousness. It's spirituality. And so what's funny is that I have Mars here, which is very athletic energy. It's very assertive. It's very physical. Mars is physical. It's that masculine energy, that divine masculine energy. And so it's interesting is that at first I was a PE teacher, right? I am a PE teacher and I'm very athletic, but I also have Neptune here, which is all about spirituality, and it's sitting on my midheaven. So for me, it's like, okay, develop yourself. That's going to be the most growth producing when you stop catering to others, when you stop doing things for others, like you did that in your past lifetime. And now looking at the midheaven, it's like, okay, I have Neptune here. It's all about spirituality and imagination. It's very psychic. It's that psychic sensitivity. All right, so that's where you would look. You look to planets in your 10th house. You look at your North Node. And on your worksheet, I put that on here as well. I didn't put the 10th house. but you're going to look at the sign that your north node is in, the house, planetary ruler. I can get into that in a little bit. It just gives you more information. But really the big two are sign and house. And you're going to write down all the key words, thoughts, and ideas. And it kind of gives you an idea as well. South node, the sign in the house, is going to give you an idea of your past lives. The midheaven, how you're showing up in the world. And those will really give you a good look of like what you're here to do, what you've done in the past, and really the energy that you're here to embody. So let's go back to my chart. So as I look at my chart, as I said before, North Node is all about myself. 10th house is Capricorn. Capricorn is an earth energy. Capricorn can be a little, for me it's a tough energy because it's very disciplined. So it's a very more masculine, for me it feels more masculine. It's ambitious, responsible, it can be very insensitive. And so it's like I have Neptune up here, which is all about God consciousness and psychic receptivity, but it's sitting in Capricorn, which is all about being disciplined and responsible. And so it's like, I can use that for good, but sometimes with Mars being there, Mars being that masculine energy, initiative energy, it can be like, it feels restricting to me. Right? So that can really give you an idea of, again, what the energy is in those charts, what you're here to do. Again, my 10th house of career, my 10th house of profession. I've had both of these things. I have my spiritual life coaching business with Neptune, which is right on the midheaven, which for me, it's kind of like a really good nod of like, that's how you're supposed to be seen. That's what you're supposed to bring out into the world, is that spirituality, is that using your psychic receptivity to help you, to lead others, because you're knowing yourself. And then you can use your gifts from your past life and your 7th house of relationships. You can use those gifts to help others. And then the last thing that I want to bring to your attention, which I think is a really important point in your chart, because if you're here for self-development, we're all about kind of, we play with our wounds. Like we like dig at them, we scratch at them to see what hurts, what doesn't, what needs healing still, right? And so Chiron is actually an asteroid, and Chiron is represented by the key. So Chiron for me, it's the green one all the way down at the bottom. And it's in my 3rd house. So Chiron is called the wounded healer. Chiron is a very sensitive point in our chart. It can lead us to our healing and teaching. So a lot of times, as you know, what's your story? We talk about your story. Where did your story come from, and why is that your story? Oftentimes it doesn't come from this like bright light of a place. Oftentimes it's what we have to overcome and what we have to heal, because that's what we're here to heal others with. And so I really wanted to show you that point in your chart, because it can give you a wealth of information of what you came here to heal, what you came here to teach and overcome. And so Chiron is, again, you start off, where is it? It's in my 3rd house. What sign is it in? It's in Gemini. So I'd write all those things down, and I would write out what each one represents. Or you can Google it again. All right. So Chiron for me is in the 3rd house, which is communications. It's environment and it's siblings. And so for me, I grew up in daycare, and I'm also an empath. So my environment affects me, and other people that are very close to me affect me on a deep level, emotionally, energetically, because I can take on their emotions, I take on their feelings, I internalize, and being an empath, I want to make sure everything's like even, nice and even. Gemini is all about communication. It's very inquisitive, and it's adaptable. It is versatile. So I have that energy in me, but at the same time, it was being super stifled when I was a kid, trying to make sure everything was nice and even for everybody else. So for me, Chiron really has to do with my upbringing, being in daycare and feeling like I'm not having a voice, not being able to communicate my voice. Like, I love my daycare family, but it was like survival of the fittest at times, because there was a lot of older kids, and it was just like, shut up, like nitpicking, like busting balls all the time. And it's like, oh yeah, that's all and good, but my Cancer son, are you kidding me? My Cancer son was like, just love me. Like, I just want to be loved. Like, that's all it is. And I want to give love. Like, I'm the empath, I'm the even person. So for me, kind of what I've had to heal in this lifetime is I have a voice. My emotions matter. Setting boundaries so that I can bring my gift out into the world. That's how Chiron has presented to me. And then really, there's a 4th part of your chart. And again, it's these aspects here. So Chiron for me is opposite Uranus. Chiron is square to Jupiter. Chiron is, this is a sesquiquadrant. So then when you really get into it, you can also look up, okay, I have the basics of it, of the house Chiron's in and the sign it's in. But now what else is it touching? This is where it gets like pretty intense. This is where it gets a little bit more confusing, because now you're having to take all of that energy that you just looked at and combine it with the energy that's in a different place. So for example, my Chiron is square to Jupiter in Pisces in my 12th house. Jupiter is the expander. Anything Jupiter touches, Jupiter expands. It wants to make it bigger. And Pisces is it's the last house of the zodiac, very receptive, very psychic, but can also be very illusory. And the 12th house can be all about like your 12th house is like a mixed bag. It's the house of spirituality. So it's like, for me, we know what squares are, things that we have to overcome. It is conflicting desires, inner struggle. So for me, not being able to, like when I was a kid, it was very much, I had 2 brothers. I wanted to play sports all the time. Like spirituality, like being soft, what's that? But Pisces is very psychic, it's very receptive, it's a very emotional energy. And for me, that's expanded with Jupiter there. But I wasn't able to ever tap into that as a kid. It was like, toughen up, buttercup. Like, you don't cry, like showing emotion, like go figure that out on your own. And so it was always this like stiff upper lip. And that's where that square comes from me. It's this conflicting desires of, I am a very deep, emotionally spiritual person, but I'm not able to bring that out into the world. I'm not able to really show that. And again, all of these lines represent another aspect of your consciousness. So your chart is very in-depth, which is why I found I had single sessions of astrological chart readings for you, which is an hour and a half, and we go through your chart and we don't look at each individual thing, as we look at this as a big picture. So for me, in the big picture, trying to pick a good color here to work with. I have a big triangle here. You start to looking at it like geometrically and not just individually. I have a big trine here. I have two. I have a really big, almost a T-square here with these squares. And that's really how you start to look at the bigger picture of your chart, is when you start to look at those things. But it takes a while to be able to do that. So if it's something that interests you, like I said, I'm going to give the Academy a 25% discount, and I will give you a specific code for that. And the astrological counseling is I combine the use of tarot, which is really tapping into your higher self. It's really tapping into universal energy and your guides. And we ask that energy specific questions about your chart. So we'll say, okay, what does, like for me, Jupiter and Pisces, the 12th house is just kind of a tough house, because it's all about your self-defeating patterns too. Your limitations, your fears, your need for withdrawal and privacy. But it's also your subconscious, your spirituality, and unseen or hidden causes. So for me, Jupiter being there, being the expander, I'd be like, what else does this mean? And so we could use the tarot deck to further give us information about your chart. And so that's over 3 sessions. We'll use tarot and really get to the nitty-gritty of your chart of how this energy is going to express for you. And then lastly, I also just want to let you know that the planets and the celestial bodies are always moving. So you have the chart of today. Like today has a specific energy too. Somebody's born today. Where the moon is, right, is really important. Let's go to, and so what you can do is you can look at where the planets are today, and you can reference them with your chart. It's called a transit reading. So we can look at, okay, where is the moon touching today in your chart? Because that's going to bring out specific pieces of your internal energy, is what it's going to do, which is just like the coolest. So this is today's chart. So if you look, the moon is in Leo. Okay, so you can literally follow the moon around through the chart, going through the zodiac. We still have the stellium of planets up here. A stellium is more than 2 planets within 10 degrees of each other. So you can take that chart and you can put it over your chart, and it would show what parts of your chart are being triggered. Fascinating stuff. Like wherever Venus is, which is up here in the 9th house, that teal, the feminine sign, wherever that is you're going to be bringing out more self-love. It's going to be bringing out that divine feminine part of your chart, that flow, that ease, art. Like I said, if it was transiting your 1st house, it's going to be bringing out self-love more, because that house is your sense of self. So I know that was a lot. So if you legitimately have any questions about any of that, put it in the Academy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was like head is spinning, but it's just so cool to know that, like, as we build these businesses, as we do this stuff, like all the little tiny steps forward that you take are so purposeful on like a bigger scale than just what we see in front of us. And they're being guided and supported in different ways too. So it just gives for me, it gives a deeper oh my gosh, look what I'm doing among all that's happening. It's just really exciting.
I completely agree with you. And it's so interesting. I did a mini chart reading for Jill the other day, and just here's what's coming, because it's very intuitive and looking towards the future. You can see what part of you is going to be triggered. You can see where your mind is going to be going. You're like, how did you know that that's what I was thinking about? And it's well, that's what your chart shows. That's what that higher mind is being triggered about.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Will you put the discount code in the Academy for us, for those that want to hop on that train?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. You're amazing. You guys, seriously, let Amber know if you've got questions. Tag her in something in the Academy. And I would offer this. Don't private message her. Actually tag her in a post in the Academy, because then we can all learn. And this is stuff that we're all really interested in, even if it's I have no freaking clue. It's there's something there. So in order to allow the Academy to do the Academy's thing, let's all learn. Sound good?
Do it.
All right. Thank you, my love. You're amazing. I love you so much. Thank you to everyone who's here live. Thank you to everyone who's watching the recording. And happy Tuesday, you guys.
Yay.
Yay. Go snuggle that baby, Cornwall.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Bye.